The three most famous haunted houses in Singapore. The White House or Matilda House, a century-old bungalow that has survived 2 world wars and witnessed the rise of Singapore. What mystery lies behind the infamous haunted house? Also called Istana Menanti, or Waiting Palace in Malay, the fabled Matilda House had survived a century only to be tagged as an infamous haunted house. The Cashin Resorts. Originally from Ireland, the Cashin family were one of the wealthiest Eurasian family in Singapore, owning their fortunes to Biam farms which were still legal in the late 19th century. With the massive wealth, Joseph William Cashin purchased multiple land around the island, including the one where a Matilda House sits in today. Built in 1902, the 417 square meter Matilda House was a gift by Joseph to his wife, Josephine Matilda Cashin, hence the name of the house. Back then, the Matilda House was the most exquisite property in the area of Punggol. The 6-bedroom bungalow boasted raised floor and entrances at both ends, providing a much-needed breeze during hot weathers. Surrounding the Matilda House are a horse stable, a tennis court, servant quarters and a massive orchard that grew tropical fruits such as mangosteens and durians. It is said that the Sultan of Johor would visit the Cashin family via a boat to the nearby Punggol River where the Matilda House is located not far from. The Matilda House, along with the iconic The Pier at Lim Chu Kang Kaya and Butterfly House at Amber Road, served as weekend resort homes for the Cashin family. However, in 1985, the government of Singapore underwent a land acquisition plan and acquired over 1 million square meters of land in Punggol, forcing the eviction of the Cashin's family from the Matilda House. Legends of Matilda House. Back in the days, villagers bypassing the Matilda House would often see a lady with long hair sitting atop a nearby tree, seemingly guarding the Matilda House from any uninvited guests. Today, while there are no recorded death or murders in the house, legend speaks of an ancestral spirit that still resides in Matilda House, stopping anyone who tries to tear it down. The Matilda House has appeared in several post-war films, including Tanko, a 1981 drama series by BBC, and Tanah Lion of Singapore, a 1989 Australian drama series. A tragic tale tells the story of 3 construction workers who mysteriously passed away during a scheduled demolition of the haunted house. The developers abandoned that project and vowed to never return to the site. Over the years, the surrounding forest was cleared to make way for Punggol town, making the Matilda House an iconic landmark that has withstood the test of time and modern development. Haunted House to Clubhouse. In 2010, the land was sold to property developer Sim Lean Group. As the Matilda House was given a conservation status by the Urban Redevelopment Authority and is not to be demolished, it was converted into a clubhouse for the Treasure Trove condominium. The Matilda House was commonly known as White House, one of 3 infamous colored haunted houses in Singapore. The Red House referred to a former bungalow turned preschool in Pasir Ris, while the Green House is the now demolished Hillview Mansion. It is said that during the renovation of the Matilda House, spiritual masters were engaged to negotiate with spirits lingering in the house. Today, the lights at the clubhouse are never switched off for safety reasons. With a new lease of life, the Matilda House and its haunted history as the oldest house in Punggol lives to tell the tale. The Red House. The Red House, situated at 191 Jalan Loyang Besar near the Pasir Ris Chalets, was a thing of fascination for many Singaporeans. The abandoned property was supposedly haunted. The stone lions guarding the gates as well as numerous ghost sightings within the compound contribute to its creepy reputation. Since the 1990s, the building has been nominated by local paranormal groups to be one of the 3 most haunted houses in Singapore. The other 2 houses are the White House Punggol Matilda House and the Green House Hillview Mansion. And given the wealth of stories surrounding the place, many thrill seekers and ghost hunters have gone there in search of the supernatural. Story of the Red House. The house has supposedly been around since the 1930s. According to research done by the Asia Paranormal Investigators (API), the house was built in 1938 and purchased by the McNeice family in the late 1940s. Percy McNeice was a British civil servant who contributed to housing, family planning and social welfare. His wife, Lady McNeice, was thought to have used the house to provide communal services for the villagers of Kampung Loyang. Subsequently, the property was supposedly sold to C.K. Tang in 1964, where he and his family were said to have lived in the house briefly. Thereafter, the house was left abandoned for decades. Converted to become preschool. Just like the white and green houses, the red house also underwent redevelopment. In May 2014, Preschool Odyssey opened its doors to the public. This is what it looked like before and after the redevelopment. And this is what it looks like on the inside. The Green House. Hillview Mansion, a name that is previously well known and generates much interest among local paranormal investigators. Known as the Green House, it was once ranked together with the Punggol Matilda House White House and the Pasir Ris Red House as Singapore's most haunted colored houses in the late 90s and early 2000s. But the history of the mysterious private residence goes back to the 70s, when the house was likely to be built after the Hillview vicinity was developed. In the late 60s, a network of minor roads consists of Jalan Dermawan, Chulin Road, Jalan Gumilang, and Jalan Remaja was extended from the former Princess Elizabeth Estate, which was built in 1951. By the mid-70s, the minor roads gave rise to the development of private residences collectively known as the Hillview Estate. One end of Jalan Dermawan had initially stopped by the hillside. An extension was later constructed to link to the top of the hill, which is the highest point at Hillview Estate. The steep 50m long road leads to the Hillview Mansion, which, if it was ever completed, would enjoy a splendid panoramic view of its surroundings. Instead, its construction works were halted halfway, and it was left abandoned after that. For decades, speculations and rumors of Hillview Mansion and its abandonment had gripped the imaginations of many self-proclaimed urban explorers and ghost hunters. The Hillview Mansion was reportedly owned by Kua Boon Peng 1918-2005, the former chairman of Cycle and Carriage C&C Industries Limited. Cycle and Carriage began in 1899 as Federal Stores, a small trading company located at Kuala Lumpur. It was founded by Kua Boonpang's uncles Kua Cheng Tuan 1876-1912 and Kua Cheng Bok 1880-1940. Kua Cheng Liat, who had the Liat Towers at Orchard Road named after him, was Kua Boonpang's father and younger brother of Kua Cheng Tuan and Kua Cheng Bok. In its early days, the humble firm traded nutmegs and then diversified to soap, paper and machine spare part businesses. Cycle and Carriage later ventured into the selling of bicycles, motorcycles and cars. It established a branch at Orchard Road in 1916 and shifted its headquarters from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore in 1926. The year 1951 was a major breakthrough for Cycle and Carriage when Kua Boonpang clinched a sole distributorship agreement with Germany's Daimler-Benz to sell Mercedes-Benz brand cars in Malaya. In 1965, Cycle and Carriage opened a 2.5 million plant at Hillview to assemble Mercedes, Daihatsu, Isuzu and Volkswagen vehicles. The plant, however, suffered losses and had to shut down in 1980 due to significant increase in the production costs. Kua Boonpang stepped down as the company's chairman in 1985. The Kua family eventually exited Cycle and Carriage 8 years later. The factory's land, under the ownership of Cycle and Carriage, was redeveloped for private residential use in 1990. Hillview Villas, a mixture of semi-detached and terrace houses, was completed at the site of the former Hillview assembly plant after 3 years of construction. Kua Boonpang himself was said to have spent millions of dollars in the 70s snapping up plots of land near the Hillview assembly plant to build a grand mansion for HIS wife and probably also to oversee HIS vast business empire at Hillview. Few, however, knew the reason behind the halted construction works of the house. The half-completed Hillview mansion was demolished in the mid-2000s. Today, there is nothing left of it except a pair of old gates. And while the greenhouse had been completely demolished, the White House and Red House are given new lease of life. In recent years they have been redeveloped into a clubhouse and childcare center respectively.